Hey guys, this is part 2 of our 6.7 video on polynomial equations, and we finished up the last video talking about the fundamental theorem of calculus. So let's put that into action along with our other theorems that we've learned in previous lessons by stating the number of complex roots and then solving for this equation. So when you look at this polynomial, you can see we've got a 4th degree polynomial. So if we wanted to state the number of complex roots according to our fundamental theorem of algebra, we would say there are 4 complex roots. We'll then use the rational root theorem to list all of our rational roots, C and D, C for our coefficient here, and D for C for our constant term, and D for our leading coefficient. We'll then write all of those as possible rational numbers. Remember, rational numbers are just fractions, so we have 1 over 1, which is just 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 4, and plus or minus 1/2, and plus or minus 1/4. Those are our possible rational roots. To determine if they are actually roots, we can use our remainder theorem, so we can plug and chug and see if we get 0, or we can divide synthetically and see if our remainder is 0. So according to our remainder theorem and our factor theorem, if a remainder is 0, it is a factor. Well, when we start with positive 1 and we plug that in or divide synthetically, we actually get a remainder of 3. So 1 is not a root. And when we try negative 1, we get a remainder of 27. So negative 1 is also not a root. But when we get to 2, we find out that 2 is indeed a 0, which means it's a factor. So let's go ahead and divide this synthetically here with our negative 4, negative 16, 15, and 4. And when we do that, following our rules of synthetic division, we get a remainder of 0, like we said. 2 is our new constant term, negative 1 is our new x term, negative 8 is our new x squared term, and 4 is our new x cubed term. So we have our factor of 2 here, and then our first depressed polynomial. Now this is still not a quadratic, we're still at an x cubed term, so we need to either factor by grouping here, or we can divide synthetically again by one of those possible rational roots. Now, if you look here at our new possible rational roots, we already know 1 and negative 1 don't work. And our factors of 2 are only 2 and 1. So that one no longer works either because 4 is not a factor of our new depressed polynomial. So we're going to try to divide by 2 again. Again, we could do factoring by grouping here. We could factor out a 4x squared here and a 1 or negative 1 here, but we're going to go ahead and divide synthetically. So let's factor some more. We're going to divide by 2 again. And when we divide by 2 again, we find out that's another factor. This one is a factor of our first depressed polynomial. So we have our 0 remainder here. And we have our new constant term. This is our x term, and this is our x squared term. So we're left with 4x squared minus 1 is our second depressed polynomial. So here's what we have found out so far. We divided by 2 to begin with to get our first depressed polynomial. We divided by 2 again to get our second depressed polynomial, and this is our depressed polynomial. Okay, now that we have it down to an x squared form, we can go ahead and factor again, and we should recognize this as a difference of squares. We have 2x squared minus 1 squared, and difference of squares, take the square roots of 4x squared, so 2x and 2x, and the square roots here of 1 plus 1 and minus 1. So we just factor that using our difference of squares pattern, plus our x minus 2 and x minus 2. Now we said we had 4 roots, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. We do have 4 roots. This one is repeated twice, so we say that it has a multiplicity of 2. It is a double root. It is said to have a multiplicity of 2, but we do have our 4 roots there. If we were to then set this equal to 0, because of our zero product property, we get x equals 2, x equals negative 1/2, and x equals positive 1/2. So it looks like we only have 3, but we know that this has a multiplicity of 2. So it does follow our fundamental theorem of algebra, which said that this number right here, as long as it's positive, will tell us how many roots we have. 2 is a double root and has a multiplicity of 2. All right, we've got two more theorems that we need to introduce here. These are called conjugate root theorems. Again, I'm going to give them to you using the book definition, and then I'll put it in simpler terms for you. But the irrational root theorem says if a plus root b is a root of p of x equals 0, where p of x has rational coefficients, okay, that means every number in front of your x squared, x cubed, or x term is a rational number. Rational meaning it can be written as a ratio or a fraction. So 4 is a rational number, okay? So where all the coefficients are rational, a and b are rational, and square root of b is irrational, then its conjugate, a minus the square root of b, is also a root. Okay, a second theorem that goes along with this is the complex root theorem, which says if a plus bi is a root of p of x equals 0, where p of x has real coefficients, then its conjugate, a minus bi, is also a root. In layman's terms, the conjugate root theorems simply say that under the stated conditions, so we've got real coefficients here, if a plus the square root of b, or a plus bi, if either one of those are roots, then according to the conjugate root theorems, their conjugates are also roots. So a minus the square root of b must also be a root, and a minus bi must also be a root. Conjugates, you've got identical terms, and the only thing that's changing is the sign. So if one of these is a root, its conjugate must also be a root. Those are the conjugate root theorems. So let's take a look at this in practice here. We're going to be given the polynomial function p of x and the associated polynomial equation p of x equals 0. Then the following statements are going to be equivalent. All right, let's take a look at these before we do our example. All right, you've heard me say these already. There are just three different ways to say the same thing. First of all, we can say that x minus a is a factor of p of x. We can say that a, the same a right here, is a 0 of p of x. Or we can say a is a root of p of x equals 0. So these are three different ways that we can essentially say the same thing. Remember what that translates to when we're graphing is that if it's a factor or a 0 or a root, that's a place where it crosses the x-axis. So let's say that we had 3 zeros. I'm just making up a graph here. Okay, these 3 zeros are also factors, are also roots of our polynomial. You've heard me say those three things interchangeably, and I will continue to say those. So be aware that you know those three things mean the same thing. All right, so let's go ahead and write a polynomial function of at least degree with 2 write a polynomial function of least degree, so you want the smallest degree possible, with 2 and 1 plus 5 square root of 3 as zeros. So you're looking at this and you may go, okay, there's 2 zeros, so our least degree is going to be x squared, right? That's the smallest degree we can make it. But then I'm going to have to remind you of those conjugate root theorems, which says if 1 plus 5 times the square root of 3 is a 0, then 1 minus 5 squared root of 3 must also be a 0. So now we have 1, 2, 3. 3 roots. So now it looks like the smallest we can make this polynomial is a third degree polynomial. Okay, if we want to get back to our original function here, remember we're going to list all of our roots in this form of x minus a, where just a stands for our root or our 0 or a factor. So we have x minus 2, that's our first root, x minus 1 plus 5 square root of 3, there's my second root, and x minus 1 minus 5 square root of 3. Those are my 3 roots. Now that I have those listed, how do I get back to my original equation, my original polynomial? Hopefully you said multiply or FOIL or something like that. So I'm actually going to start by FOILing these last 2 factors here. I know that this, when I multiply that out, gets me to x squared minus 2x plus 1, and negative 5 root 3 times positive 5 root 3, when I multiply that out, gets me to a negative 75. This is, has just been regrouped here and then multiplied out accordingly. So we rewrote the factors containing radicals, and we applied the square of difference pattern. So a minus b times a plus b equals a squared minus b squared, and we've applied that pattern there. Okay, we're then going to combine this positive 1 and negative 75. So we get x minus 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 70, or minus 74, sorry. And then we're going to continue that multiplication here by distributing, multiplying each of those terms by each of the binomial terms by that trinomial terms. And we get x cubed minus 4x squared minus 70x plus 148. And that's what we were trying to get to. We were trying to write the polynomial function using these factors. We had to use our conjugate root theorem to list the other factor here. And we said on the first screen, the least degree, the smallest degree that we could make this polynomial was a cubed polynomial, and that is exactly what we found. All right, so today we did these things. We solved, meaning solved for x, we solved the polynomial equations using the zero product property. We determined the number of complex roots of a polynomial equation. We also applied the conjugate root theorem, which said that a plus square root of b, that's a root, then a minus square root of b also has to be a root. And a plus bi, if that's a root, then a minus bi also has to be a root. Let's go ahead and write those down. We practiced our synthetic division. We practiced determining if something is a root using the factor theorem or the remainder theorem. We practiced finding all the rational roots using the rational root theorem. So we kind of took everything we've been working on and applied it all in one here. We also were given factors or roots or zeros, all the same thing, factor, zero, root, all the same thing. We were given those and had to work backward to derive the original polynomial function. All right, we will do lots of practice of this together in class, but if you have any specific questions, make sure you write those down to ask me in class.